Fine.
Alright, anyway, welcome to Subject to Change, everyone. Not to be confused with that show about the two gay high schoolers.
Yeah, in that Australian show about gay high schoolers.
No, this...
We're not in Australia, so it doesn't count.
Damn it! Now everyone's gonna be confused and think we're a couple.
No.
For the record, I think he's gross.
And he's a loser.
Tofu.
Who makes stupid
What a
YouTube
weirdo.
videos. What kind of a loser
Yeah.
makes YouTube videos?
What kind of a freak makes YouTube videos? You get out of here, icky man. Alright, well, what are we gonna discuss today, dear David?
Well, first of all, we're going to do we're going to do the traditional what we've been watching, reading, just sort of a cool little conversational bit. And then after that, we're going to go to the headlines, featured news. We're going to have some editorials. And then we're going to have some fan questions, because we actually released this episode on YouTube this time, so we can talk about questions. And before you ask,
Finally.
yes, iTunes is coming. It's just taking a while, because school's busy right now. And
Well, yeah, we're both right on
complicated.
the cusp of graduation, so we're dealing with all kinds of finals and everything.
Yeah, so it's coming, it's just not out yet. YouTube will have to do
Yeah.
for now, so pay for YouTube Red, so you can watch our videos offline.
Yeah, or just, like, keep a tab open of Google Chrome while you do something else, like your laundry or something, and bring a headphone extension wire.
And don't
There you
trip
go,
over it.
perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah, don't do what I do and trip over it constantly.
So-
Alright, so what have you been watching or reading lately, buddy?
Mainly I've been watching more DS9, and I've been watching some Top Gear, so nothing really to talk about there. Although, the other night, I did start watching American Gods, which I think was really cool. And I'd like to talk a
Yeah,
little
you've
bit
been
about
telling
that.
me about that book. You've been telling me about that book for like 2 years
Yeah.
now, and I promise you I will read it eventually. I have a lot of other books I'm
Like,
trying to get through first.
I've started reading at the behest of my English teacher at the time. You've had her too, I think. You have her for this year, right?
Yeah.
At the behest of that English teacher, she bugged me and said, "You need to read American Gods. You need to read American Gods." And then I read American Gods, and I thought, this is amazing. I love this. It's such a good
Well,
book.
I mean,
But my interest
Yeah.
is that I've never really thought of it as like a filmable book. It's not very cinematic in a sense. Like, a lot of what happens is either hinted at or implied at, and it happens in a
doesn't
very...
it get really abstract?
It does. It
too?
gets really weird. And
Okay.
also, it's just the one book. And they're going to make this into a multi-season thing. So, I don't understand what they were doing, but now that I've seen a couple of their first episodes, I'm on board. It's not the book,
Well,
but
hold on.
I like
I have
it.
a question. Is how much of the book did they get through in all the episodes released so far?
Not very far. I can pull out my copy and tell you about how far it is, if you'll give me a sec.
Guesstimate a page number, I guess.
I have my copy right here. American Gods, Neil Gaiman.
Listen to that sound of him moving things. Okay, there's a dead silence. All right, that's always
First bad
good.
is Free
This
Man.
plays well for the audience.
Okay, Laura.
What about that extremely long, uncomfortable sex scene that goes on for
yeah,
like
it's about-
half of the length of the episode?
The first couple pages are about 100 pages in roughly, but of a book of this copy that I have, that's around 750 pages. Oh yeah, that sex scene
Wow.
is really early on though.
Yeah, it was between the guy from that movie God Bless America, which was directed by Bobcat, and that one black lady, I think.
Bilquis is her name. Is a character's
That
name.
was the only scene I really watched. Like, my dad was watching it, and then I went over to his house, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, what you watching?" He's like, "American Gods." And it's them in the restaurant. Then him and I start, like, chatting and having a normal conversation. Then that sex scene starts, and it just keeps getting louder and louder and more vigorous and showing more and more.
Boy, is
and we're
it
just trying to have this normal conversation.
awkward and
And
uncomfortable.
it's just like, Jesus, dude, how long is this gonna go? And then he got angry and fast-forwarded it so we could have a serious conversation about something.
Well, it's even more awkward and even weirder in the books, because it's like, let's see,
Doesn't she keep saying, like, worship me or something?
let's see,
in it?
like, It's so bizarre. It's like, it was even weirder because it's like, in a book, it's told from a character's perspective, so you didn't see what was happening until the guy became aware of it. So it's like, here, I can read a section of it from you. Eyes closed, spasming, he luxuriates in the moment, then he feels a lurch, although it seems to him that he's hanging, head down, although the pleasure continues. He opens his eyes. He thinks, grasping for thought and reason again, of birth, and wonders, without fear, in a moment of postcoital clarity, whether what he sees is some kind of illusion. This is what he sees. He is inside her to the chest. As he stares at this in disbelief and wonder, she rests both hands upon his shoulders and puts gentle pressure on his body. He slip-slides further inside her. How are you doing this to me? He asks.
Jesus, dude.
He thinks he asks, because perhaps it is only in his head. You're doing it, honey, she whispers. He feels the lips of her vulva tight around his upper chest and back, constricting her and enveloping him. He wonders what this would look like to somebody watching them. He wonders why he is not scared. And then he knows. I worship you with my body, he whispers, as she pushes him inside her.
What?
Her labia pulls quickly across his face, and his eyes slip into darkness. She stretches on the bed like a huge cat,
Christ,
and then
dude!
she yawns. Yes, she says, you do. Welcome to Story Time with David and Xavier.
She fucking eats him with her crotch? What?
Yeah!
Jesus!
I
was not expecting that at all! Holy
and there's
shit!
And let me tell you how weird it got for me. I listened to this section on an audiobook in the car with my mom.
Oh no!
It was the most awkward thing ever.
Awkward thing ever.
But the show is super good. I love it. And the book, like Mr. Wednesday, the book, the TV show version, is exactly the way he's described in the book. He's so perfect. Like, did you see the scene in the airport with him?
I saw part of it, but
It's where
I left.
When he bummed a ticket, a first-class ticket off the flight attendant, and it's like, that wasn't in the book, but it is so in character, and that's what I think is cool about the show, because it changes things, but it feels like it's an extension, or like it's the same story just told a different way. It doesn't feel like they took it and made something bad with it.
Well, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do with an adaptation. You take what's there, and then you show that, and then you show extra things to fill in the blanks and improve it. You're not supposed to like change it, but sort of augment.
Well, they're expanding it a lot because they're going to make it at least four seasons or so. 4 to 5 seasons.
If it's a 700-page book, you're going to have to add a lot of filler.
Yeah.
But like not like here's an episode where they go to the grocery store kind of filler. Like you gotta,
also, I
imagine they're gonna just start having flashbacks.
Like they also made some changes that I think are kind of interesting. Like the technical kid in the book is like a typical sort of early 2000s computer nerd with the acne, and he's overweight and all that, and he's
oh no, if I had a girlfriend, she'd kill me. Like he's scratchy voiced teen from The Simpsons, but with glasses.
No, he's a bit weirder than that, creepier, but he's also yeah, it's like, I don't know.
Didn't they kind of convert him to a sort of like hipster for the show?
They made him a hipster in the show, like a weird sort of like digital hipster with like the weird hair and like the skinny jeans and all that. But
the skinny jeans.
It's kind of okay.
Those pants that are impossible to put on.
I'm kind of okay with it. And also, you'll be happy to hear this, that Gillian Anderson plays Media. And there's a scene
I've heard of that.
And there's a scene that's taken straight from the book that's in the second episode that was like from way on into the chapter, like way further into the book. And it's so weird. It's like she's playing like Lucille Ball, but then she starts talking to the main character through the TV. And then at the end, it's so creepy. It's like, would you like to see Lucy's tits? It's like,
Now, does Gillian Anderson at any point in the show, well, how do I phrase this without sounding like a very bad person? Is she ever in a compromising position.
What do you mean by a compromising position?
Like in a state of undress.
Not so far.
What? I didn't hear that. What'd you say?
Not so far.
Oh, okay. All right. Well.
Okay.
Cause she got close a couple of times in Hannibal, and I'm like, it's a little weird for me to see Scully do that kind of stuff. Cause like I watched a lot of X-Files when I was younger, and
it's like yeah. Media
I don't
is
think
a
I'm
cool
ready
character.
to see Scully naked at any point in my life.
Perhaps I should explain for the people who haven't read the book that basically the premise is that there's this guy called Shadow who was released early from prison a couple days after when he was supposed to be on parole, so he could because his wife died.
Yeah.
And then he goes home and his wife died and he has nothing left because his wife died while being in a compromising position with his best friend in the car, and they both died.
I like how that's the new terminology, compromising position.
They said it a lot darker in the show, but I'm not going to repeat that because this is already a vulgar enough episode. But that's
yeah, we've gotten I wasn't expecting this to get like this.
Yeah, that's kind of the book. It's really grotesque and vulgar, but you're okay with it because it's for a purpose. And also,
well, the thing about that kind of stuff is it fits better in a book because it just seems to have this sort of elegance in the way it's described.
Because and also especially because Neil Gaiman, the way he writes things is amazing. He's got great prose.
He's fantastic. I really got to start reading Sandman.
And also,
it's weird that I haven't yet.
Hello?
I'm still here.
Yeah. Hello. So it's even weirder. Also, if you thought that sex scene with Bilquis was weird, there's another one that's just as weird, involving a djinn or a genie, who has.
What?
Yeah, there's a sex scene involving a genie.
Aladdin genie?
Except he's just some sort of... Yeah. There's a sex scene involving him and this guy who's an Arab immigrant. It's weird, too. So they have a weird heterosexual sex scene and a just as weird homosexual sex scene, so yeah.
It's uncomfortable for everybody!
Yay!
We are progressive now. We make sure that everybody has a hard time watching this with their parents.
This show is so bizarre and explicit that I would not recommend watching it unless you're really, really comfortable with this person that you're watching it with.
It's not a show you watch with Grandma.
No. So let's move on. What have you been reading? Is it less weird or creepy or explicit than mine?
I can't remember if I talked about this in the first episode or not. Did I talk about Crossed there?
I don't remember.
Well, if I repeat myself, sorry everyone, it's been a while. But I've been reading that book I read that book Garth Ennis wrote called Crossed, and it was marketed to me as the most horrible comic book you'll ever read.
Boy, we're really
horrible as in bad quality, but horrible as in wow, that's pretty dark.
Boy, we are doubling down on the dark, weird, creepy stuff today.
Yeah, so basically it's a book where it's kind of like Walking Dead mixed with Evil Dead, where it's about a group of survivors trying to make their way in an apocalypse, but instead of everyone turning into zombies, they just get some kind of virus that makes them turn hyper violent and turns off the part of your brain that says no, don't do that.
Oh hey, it's like the plan that Kingsman, that Valentine had in Kingsman.
No, it's exactly like that. So imagine if nobody turned that off, and every time someone got infected, this weird sort of rash grows along their face that looks like a cross. It goes down their nose and to the bottom of their chin, and from one cheek to the other. It looks like they have a cross on their face. That's why it's called Crossed.
Mm-hmm.
And they just become like a bunch of psychos that do whatever. So it's just like a bunch of random dude guys trying to survive versus a world full of cannibal serial killer rapists. And it gets pretty messed up. And, you know, I kept thinking while I was reading it, I'm a little upset by reading this because I'm not upset at it. You know, like, I think I've finally become so disillusioned with fantasy violence and everything that I can't be bothered anymore. Like, I'm so jaded that a bunch of cannibal serial killer rapists running around eating and raping people at the same time, I couldn't even cringe. I mean, the art was really good though, because at one point someone had was walking around with a spine that was pulled out, and my back hurt a little reading those panels. So, you know, it's very well illustrated.
You're a terrible person.
Yeah, but but I think the thing that stuck out to me about it is that it had such gratuitous, in your face, over the top violence. But it wasn't like reveling in any of it or like glorifying any of it. It had the sense to go, this is bad. We should feel bad, you know? Like something that always bugged me about like Mark Miller's Kick-Ass is that in Kick-Ass 2, he goes like whole hog and tries to make it as dark as possible to the point that the main villain, whose name is the Motherfucker, runs around shooting children in a neighborhood and killing people, and then puts another major character into a compromising position against their will. And it just is going as dark as possible, and then it's just kind of like laughed off later, like someone's like they're having a conversation about it after it happened, and he's like, "Yeah, well, you did this. Oh yeah, well, you did this," and that like it's like played as a joke. So, if I were to say, like, you're into really dark stories, any of you out there, don't read the ones that have no substance to them and are just, here's something dark and violent and messed up for the sake of it. It needs to have a sort of, like, introspection about it, you know? That way it doesn't just become murder porn. And that's why Cross becomes unreadable after Garth Ennis stopped writing it, is because the next writers didn't understand that. And it very immediately just becomes, all right, here's just a bunch of murder porn, you know?
Let's be honest, the real joke isn't Garth Ennis's Crossed. It's Xavier. Now, last week, he had an editorial that was said, what's with where's the Wonder Woman advertising and everything? And
maybe
boy, was he wrong. Maybe I'd say 3-4 hours after we recorded that.
And suddenly,
boom,
hey, look, everyone,
new Wonder Woman trailer.
We're going to start posting it all over the place. Here's a Wonder Woman poster on the side of a bus.
And
it's all over the place now. I'm happy for that.
Boy, are you wrong.
To be wrong.
Boy,
I'm happy to be wrong in this case.
I'm sorry, I'm not done making fun of you. I mean, it would be fun if it was. It would be fine if it was like a day or two later, or even a week afterwards. You said like, oh, okay, well they needed time to crank up the advertising engine, but the same day we recorded it, the same day. What did Chris Pine hosting SNL not give you the indication that there was gonna be more?
But no one cares about Chris Pine.
But he's in the movie!
No one's watching the movie for Chris Pine, okay? They're there for Gal Gadot.
Gadot!
That's her new last name. I just decided it's Gal Gadot.
And I think that everything that Xavier said is completely unfounded, because as revealed by Deadline, the box office projections, the estimates that the industry is foretelling for Wonder Woman aren't exactly as dire as he thought they would be. I
estimated 40 million.
And the industry estimates the industry conservatively estimates around 60 to 65 million, and the generous projections are up to 75 million. So that's around.
See, I lowballed it a little, but I don't think I was being completely unfair.
For example, Thor. I'm just typing. For example, the first Thor opened with around that. Let's see.
Okay.
The second Thor opened
Can't
with
believe we
85.
live in a world where a Thor movie makes money.
Yeah,
That's
series
kind of cool.
Thor. The first Thor, distributed by Paramount, opened at 65 million. So that's pretty much exactly what it was. And then, of course, for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, let's see. Captain America, the First Avenger, one of their lowest grossing movies, opened at around 65 million. Again, it's in the ballpark of Captain America, which is what everybody's comparing it to, because it's a prequel that comes out pretty much leading up straight into the first Avengers movie. The last one
it
of
also takes place in one of the world
Yeah,
wars.
it's one of the world wars.
The human side character.
There's the human
romance.
disposable love interest that's not going to be in the second movie. Hey, let's see Chris Pine get his own TV show, Agent Trevor. Or
I'm Agent Trevor, and I'm really sad because Wonder Woman stopped hanging out with me after the war. I gotta find her. And then
that is if he
she's
doesn't
just
die, because there's a rumor that he'll die. But more to the point, it's not bad. For example,
yeah, that's good.
Like, what Captain America has a global worldwide gross of 370 million on a budget of 140 million, which isn't exactly stupendous with returns, but it made a profit. And if the first
It was enough for a whole trilogy, the third of which made $1 billion.
and if that is and then again, that's a good ballpark to shoot for with the pretty much the highest profile female-led superhero movie of all time. So let's just say laugh at Xavier for being wrong and be happy because his fears weren't realized.
There you go. Yeah, all right. I'll take that one.
And our next bit of news is more comic book stuff, because that's what we talk about, and that's what Xavier is obsessed about. And I'm gonna humor his obsession instead of talking about the new book by Andy Weir. We're gonna talk about X-Men: The New Mutants casting news. For example, The New Mutants is directed by Josh Boone, the director of The Fault in Our Stars. And he is and it's slated for a March 2018 release, which means it's prepping to shoot this summer. And they've got the first official casting news, which is Anya Taylor-Joy of Split and The Witch will be playing Magic, and Maisie Williams of
Magic with a K.
Yes, Magic with a K. And then, of course, Maisie Williams of Game of Thrones fame will be playing Wolfsbane. And there are a couple other. There's still like 3 or 4 other characters.
A couple of boring ass characters.
That haven't been.
I'm sorry. There's so many. I'm named after an X-Men character. There are too many X-Men characters, man.
No, there aren't enough.
Like,
we need more.
There are like 20 good ones, and then there's like 40 to 60 other ones, and then there's like 61 to 95 additional ones after that are really bad, you know? You know what? Here, let's have a movie about Forget-Me-Not. His power is that people keep forgetting him. So he's been there for all kinds of really important X-Men events, but then nobody remembers that he was there.
He's be a perfect bank robber.
No, yeah, right? That would be great. And then, what's another dumb one? You got Cypher.
Cypher
his
Ray.
power is that he can read any language. That's Cypher for you.
These are sounding like
I can think of like
these are
one
also sounding
practical
like
use
the
for
League
that.
of Substitute Heroes.
Yeah, right? So, like, okay, alright, here's the one time Cypher gets to shine. We're gonna go investigate an Egyptian tomb to get some info on Apocalypse. We bring Cypher along to decipher the hieroglyphs. And then after that, you just shoot him and leave him in the desert, because he's pretty much useless after that. And then,
So, yay!
Who else?
I think, if you ask me, I think Xavier's just kind of being negative because he doesn't like that it's being directed by the guy who made the Fault in Our Stars, and he just thinks
Fault
it's
in
going
Our
to be a
Stars?
YA movie. But I think I'm
It's
open-minded.
definitely gonna... It was pitched as a young adult movie with superheroes.
I'm open-minded. Because I don't think it's going to be as bad as the ABC shows or as bad as a CW show. Those are very YA-ish superheroes. But I think that...
Yeah, especially Flash and Arrow.
But I think that
Like,
Josh Boone is an interesting talent because he's signed on to so many projects, but he hasn't really made any... He's only made 2 movies, Stuck in Love and The Fault in Our Stars. But he's been signed to do the New Mutants. He's signed to do an adaptation of Vampire Lestat. He's been signed to do an adaptation of Stephen King's Revival, and an adaptation of... and a bunch of other things. And he's very busy. So I think that there must be some reason for that other than he can make a good pitch. Yeah, he's also been attached to an adaptation of The Stand. But I think that's been put on hold.
Which is an adaptation of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. There's someone out there who's gonna get that, and they're gonna be really excited that I said that, David.
Whenever you say JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I only think of this girl in my math class who they call JoJo, so I think she must have a really interesting life.
Does she keep going, like, on cherries all the time for fun? Or say, oh my god! That's the only 2 things I know about that show.
Whatever.
And then also, this must be the work of an enemy stand.
You need to talk about your news now. Stop.
It's me, Dio!
Talk about your news story that nobody cares about.
Oh yeah, my news story. They just announced that on FXX, the same network that we have the likes of Archer and It's Always Sunny on Philadelphia, they're going to have Deadpool. They're going to make a Deadpool animated series, and I'm pretty excited. So far, all we really know about it is that the showrunner and I think one of the lead writers is Donald Glover, who's very popular among the nerd community.
I don't know who he is or what he is.
Well, he's Miles Morales, and that's all you need to know.
Okay.
I'm kidding. No, he's... have you ever heard of the Lethal Weapon movies?
No.
Oh, well...
I know what they are. I've just never seen them.
Well, I just said heard of them.
I've heard of them.
You're aware that they exist, correct?
I'm aware that there's that there's an anti-Semite and a black guy, and that's about it.
I'm getting too old for this shit. Okay, well, if I'm not incorrect, I believe that Donald Glover is the son of Danny Glover, who's in Lethal Weapon. And Donald Glover has done stand-up comedy. He's written and run a couple of TV shows in the past, and he is also has a music career.
He has a relationship
under the name.
All I know is that
Childish
he made the
Gambino.
show Atlanta which is also for FX. So he knows that guy.
Yeah, he's got a good standing with them.
Personally.
So yeah, they said it's going to be a.
You're wrong. I just
10-episode
looked it up.
series, and
Donald Glover is no relation to Danny Glover.
Are you sure? I could have sworn I read somewhere else that they were related.
They're not.
Fuck, am I a racist?
Donald Glover Sr. is a retired... Here is the entry on Wikipedia, which is, albeit a not very reliable source. It says, Glover was born at Edwards Air Force Base, California, and raised in Stone Mountain, Georgia. His mother, Beverly, is a retired daycare provider, and his father, Donald Sr., is a retired postal worker.
Oh.
So they're of no relation.
Dad wasn't getting too old for this shit.
They're no relation whatsoever, except for the similar name. So it's like how...
no.
It's like how there's... You're a racist now.
I've been spreading that incorrect information for months now. Someone should have stopped me. I'm a monster.
Yes, you are.
How many people have I misinformed? I'm like the Daniel Way of people.
You're a terrible person.
You'll get that in a little while.
This episode is just Xavier gets things wrong.
God damn it! It was bound to happen eventually.
So,
all right. Well,
I don't know. I'm probably
the Deadpool series is gonna have 10 episodes in the first season. It'll debut in 2018, and
I don't know.
I believe that the release of it and the ending of the show Archer are getting kind of close together, so I believe that the intention is that it will be a sort of spiritual successor to Archer as time goes on.
Oh boy, that's good, because I didn't like Archer.
You didn't watch enough Archer to get into it. It's fantastic. It's just imagine, what if James Bond was a jerk?
If James Bond was a jerk? Oh, so then it would be either Quantum of Solace or or Spectre, the least good Bond movies. So it'd be like the bad
Daniel
Bond
Craig.
movies.
So, do you think Daniel Craig was also in the in some of the best James Bond movies, or no?
Yeah, I really like Casino Royale is a classic. And
What about Skyfall?
Skyfall is a bit uneven, and it kind of falls off at the end, but I think that it's overall, the first half of it is really solid, and then the second half is not quite as good.
Komodo dragons and the Javier Bardem, he plays an angry ghost pirate.
If you ask me,
who was he was murdered by James Bond in his youth, and now he's come back from revenge
to hunt Johnny Depp.
He's gonna walk across the ocean to go murder James Bond.
No, but
Captain James Bond of the Black Pearl.
Yeah, if you ask me, Skyfall was a bit uneven, but I enjoy it, especially for that first half. And I love Casino Royale. Casino Royale is a classic at this point, if you ask me. But I don't know. I don't really like Archer. I've never really liked Archer. I tried it, but I didn't like it.
It's an acquired taste. I know it's a little off-putting that every character is a jerk, but that's kind of where
you like
most
jerks.
of the comedy comes from. I do. I identify with jerks. In fact, I wrote that school play where every character was a jerk except one, and all of them had a horrible time, including the good character.
Yeah, you like shows about jerks.
Can I tell that story?
No, not now, because we need to move on. We have a lot to do today.
Okay, next week I'm going to tell the story of when I wrote a school play about cocaine.
And you wrote it like an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
But worser. So anyway, featured news. Do you want to do the honors, my boy?
Yeah, this is going to be our featured news story for the day, which is what we're going to be discussing a little bit more in depth, which is the Hellboy reboot in the works. Now, for many years, if you're of a certain vintage, you might remember that there were some movies that Guillermo del Toro made before Pacific Rim. One of them was Pan's Labyrinth, and the other ones were the Hellboy movies, amongst a couple others. And those, of course, starred...
David has not seen those.
I haven't seen those.
And I believe Hellboy 1 is a fantastic movie, and Hellboy 2 exists.
All I know is that they star Ron Perlman, and he has really big hands.
He has one really big hand. The other one's a normal-size hand.
And he has weird makeup on. And, of course...
Because he is the devil, kind of.
Yeah.
Or he's the Antichrist? I don't know. I never read any of the Hellboy books, but I oughta.
And now they're working on a reboot with the police officer from Stranger Things attached to star David Harbour. And I think that's cool, because it's funny how Stranger Things became the unexpected breakout hit of the year, and now everybody who was on that show is going to have a career, because first of all,
like the kid in there,
Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie
Bobby Brown is in
she's in
Godzilla.
The new Godzilla movie. Yeah.
David Harbour is in this, and then of course one of the kids
is going to be playing Godzilla. Yeah. I'm very excited. I think she'll do fantastic in the role.
And then of course one of the kids is on it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that it's funny because it seems like
to Millie Bobby Brown for getting the role of Godzilla. I'm very happy. I think she'll do great. I'm sure she'll get the screonk noise pretty good.
Yeah. I think it's kind of funny how
where Godzilla goes screonk.
This isn't funny.
You're not funny.
I'm serious. This isn't funny.
You're serious. Anyway, back to the news about David Harbour and the Hellboy.
You know, I thought it was funny how
the director of The Descent, The Watcher on the Wall, and a couple of episodes of TV shows we like.
No. First of all, I'd just like to say I think it's funny that the only person who doesn't have their career being revived after Stranger Things is what's her name?
Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder. She's the only one who hasn't gotten her career back.
Well, that's because in that whole show she has one emotional state, and it's frazzled and confused.
Although I think she was the best
frazzled and confused character.
I'm pretty sure she was the best part of that. I think she was the best part of that.
Dude, man, those child actors were like killing it. They were so believable, but then Winona Ryder's just like, she's just like a blender of a person, like just constantly on puree.
But there are people like
can't
that.
Get her to turn off. Yeah. But, the thing about David Harbour is as soon as I saw that guy in that show, I was like, I don't recognize him from anything specifically, I don't think.
But
there's just something about him. I feel like he's going to get, like, a big role in something soon. He's either, for a while...
He had that quality.
Yeah, right? You look at him and you go, that guy's going places.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was going to get the role of Cable in Deadpool 2. Soon after. In fact, there was a couple rumors about that, and I'm sure you could find, like, an accompanying Photoshop that, like, Boss Logic did about him as Cable.
But instead, that role went to the Goonies star, Josh Brolin.
He's been in other stuff. He's fucking Thanos.
I just like to make fun of him.
You know what? I'm excited now for the inside joke for when Thanos and Cable inevitably meet together in a comic book and then have some kind of line about having... similar voices or something. I don't know.
Hey, are you excited for are you excited for Thanos and Green Lantern to be in a movie together?
Oh, absolutely. I think
so yeah,
Thanos and Green Lantern and Afro Domino are just gonna have the best old time.
I think it's gonna be very interesting because the Hellboy reboot is a unknown director who is Neil Marshall. He directed The Descent, which is I've heard it's a cult classic British horror movie, and he directed one of the most iconic episodes of Game of Thrones that I think a lot of people remember, which is The Watchers on the Wall, which is basically the giant.
He also directed
their take on the Helm's Deep battle from Lord of the Rings 2. And
yeah, that's what it was. And then he also directed the Great Red Dragon from Hannibal. I believe that's is that the season 3 finale?
No. It's like the second episode of it's like the first episode after in the new half of the story arc after after
the show
after they capture Hannibal in Italy, and then it jumps a couple of years forward and you're like, wait, this is a different season, what's going on?
They should have just, like, split up the season, but I feel like they got the news that they weren't going to get any more after season 3, and they're like, oh shit, we have to at least try Red Dragon or something. So they, like, crammed it in the last 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Very strange.
That's what's and
didn't he also direct the Lost in Space reboot?
He's making it right now. It's not out yet for Netflix.
Yeah, because for a second when I saw that listed in the document we have here, I thought you meant he did the one from the 90s.
No, the new one that they're making right now for Netflix.
Okay.
And then, of course...
I love how dumb that 90s version of Lost in Space is.
I used to love that movie. But let's talk about...
too.
Let's talk about Hellboy.
Okay, Hellboy, I'm excited
tell me about
it's gonna be rated R. Well, basically, Hellboy is this really unique story. It's about a scientist. Well, I mean, it starts off about a scientist in World War II who stops a Nazi plan to open a portal to hell because everyone knows that the Nazis got into some really weird-ass science back then, which is like the spawn of like the concept of Hydra in Marvel. But in this case, they started messing around with black magic and opened a portal to hell, and all that came through was a small child with horns on his head and a stone fist. And he has red skin and a tail, and over time this scientist, since World War II, has raised him as his own, and because Hellboy ages far slower than, like, normal humans, in the, like, however long since World War II, he's only in, like, his mid-30s. And he serves as, like, a government's, like, watchdog and or first responder for anything supernatural that happens. So like if a bunch of people get killed by something supernatural, the government's gonna cook up some kind of cover story and then throw Hellboy in to go fight it. And his whole job is to just go run around ghost busting people, and it's really awesome. Like, I love the first Hellboy movie.
So, are you excited to see a reboot with a Game of Thrones director? Because remember, the last time there was a Game of Thrones director directing a comic book into a movie
Adaptation.
we got Thor: The Dark World.
Wasn't it that lady who's like, Wonder Woman really needs a pet tiger?
No. There was Alan Taylor who directed Thor: The Dark World, and then he went on to direct Terminator Genesis. And then, of course, Michelle MacLaren is another Game of Thrones director who was attached to Wonder Woman for a while, and she wanted Wonder Woman to have a tiger sidekick like He-Man. So let's see. Let's hope that this Game of Thrones director has a little bit more sense than the other two.
Yeah. Now, I think a lot of people are immediately being a little sort of, I guess, distrusting and dismissive are the words I'll use of the new actor, because, like, everyone is going, well, Ron Perlman owned the role. Ron Perlman is Hellboy. Every time I read a Hellboy comic, I hear Ron Perlman's voice. And I think everyone needs to chill the hell out, pun intended, because, like, it's either, I mean, Ron Perlman's gotten up there in his age and probably couldn't do it as well as he could have if they just, like, buckled down and made the movie in, like, 2011 like they wanted to. Guillermo del Toro is, like, a
Has
pariah
self-imploded
in
by this
Hollywood.
point?
Yeah, he just blew up. He can't do anything anymore without getting it shut down.
He co-wrote and produced the Hobbit movies, which Peter Jackson ended up directing.
Him off.
And
and then also
he made
tried
Pacific
to get
Rim.
Silent Hills off the ground, and then the whole thing with Kojima happened.
He made Pacific Rim, which is his biggest success to date, but then he got booted off his own sequel. And now
he's not allowed to direct the sequel. Yeah.
And then, now what I think he's doing is he's directing another, like, fantasy, sort of like Pan's Labyrinth type movie called The Shape of Water, and I'll look that up to... So, yeah, I think that if he's... The Shape of Water, 2017. Let's see... An otherworldly story set against the backdrop of Cold War America circa 1963, starring Michael Shannon, Doug Jones, Octavia Spencer, amongst others. Oh, and
here's
hey,
how
David
you make
Hewlett.
A good Guillermo del Toro movie. You take a historic event where things were bad, and then you just put something supernatural in it. You got Hellboy with the World War II, you got the Pan's Labyrinth with also the World War II, and now you got the Cold War with these with the ghosts in the Cold War. You know.
Yeah. So I think that Guillermo del Toro, he's a good visual director, but he's a very bad writer. He just thinks he's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, he has his flukes, of course. Like, he comes up with some cool ideas.
Yeah, he's a good idea man.
For the most part, the actual nuts and bolts of the story, I feel like, should be left to someone else.
Yeah. So,
and I'm looking forward to David Arbor, because now that I look at his face, I could totally picture him as Hellboy. Like, I can already see the way he looks in the makeup.
Should he be motion capped or make-upped?
Makeup, because the makeup for Ron Perlman as Hellboy was so impressive. Like, there's no need to have him be a CGI character. Like, that's excessive. I'm not one of those people who's like, practical effects or Get Out, but at the same time, I think you don't have to CGI everything. You know, it just takes a little bit more effort to do something practical, and I feel like you'd get a better performance out of the main character if he wasn't a CGI effect the entire time.
So So I think what we're all saying is that reboots are bad, but they're not always bad. So
I mean, the point I was making is that between Ron Perlman getting older and not being able to really keep doing these sorts of movies, and then Guillermo del Toro having no projects working, it's the point I'm trying to make is it's either like wait for the third movie from those guys that will never happen, or
take
just
what you can get.
Bite the bullet bite the bullet and take what you can get, because I don't think those guys are like had any chance of getting that third movie off the ground. Like it just was this pipe dream. So I'm okay with a new Hellboy movie from new people, because that means at least we get another Hellboy movie instead of waiting for a billion years for something that's not going to happen.
We need the original Hellboy to be in the Hellboy.
We need the original cast. You know, it's the same as like how everyone was saying that Christian Bale is Batman.
He's not.
Like they always, as soon as they like an actor in a role, they say, well, he is the character. Andrew Garfield is Spider-Man. You know, I mean, a lot of the time it's usually like, no, they're just playing a character that's similar enough to the comic character, and you like what they're doing. Like, every time someone says Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man, I kind of roll my eyes, because, like, Iron Man wasn't really like that until he was played by Robert Downey Jr. Like, he was not nearly as funny as he was, you know, as soon as that happened. Like, they started retroactively writing Tony Stark to act more like Robert Downey Jr.
And also,
everyone just kind of like bought it, you know?
And also, you know, what's his name? Samuel L. Jackson, they rewrote King Nick Fury to be like him. That wasn't the comic book version.
But yeah, I mean, well, no, there was in the Ultimate
there was the
universe
Ultimates
in, like,
version.
The year 2000. There was, the Ultimate version was based on Samuel L. Jackson intentionally by Mark Miller. He wrote the Ultimates. And then over time,
they just became the regular one.
The old version. Yeah, because then they made that canon to the main universe by having the white Nick Fury have a black son who got the same eye shot out or something, and then he became Nick Fury Jr., you know? So, I mean, I think that's kind of funny. That's only in comic books, you know? But, like, yeah, the movies have an effect on the comics. Usually, people are just having this sort of Mandela effect where they remember the characters a certain way, but most of the time it's usually they're being written to act more like the movie versions than the other way around.
So I think we need to wrap this up so we can move on. But the point that we're trying to get across is things are going to change. Just accept it and hope they do something new with it. So
Because then you'll get Ben Affleck Batmans, and you'll be like, wow, he's so amazing. He's perfect. Best Batman ever. Instead of Christian Bale, who everyone now says is garbage. Like, it runs in cycles. You're going to like whoever's current.
Okay,
you know?
Just one aside. I never turned. I always said Christian Bale was garbage. Even when people were saying Ben Affleck is garbage, Christian Bale is better. So my opinions have not changed. I just think Christian Bale was a garbage Batman.
I didn't think he was garbage. I think he was just kind of there because those movies kind of stopped being about him after a while.
Mm-hmm. But anyway,
what do we got next?
So which rant do you want to have? Do you want to have the one about Guardians of the Galaxy and King Arthur, or the one about Blade Runner and Ghost in the Shell?
Well, being that I haven't seen the new Ghost in the Shell or the new Blade Runner, I feel like that's something we should wait on.
So, as of this weekend, my dad and I live with people. I live with a family. I have other people in this household that burst into my videos and asked what I'm doing in the most inconvenient times. And this weekend,
hey, dude, are you recording a Let's Play in here?
And then at this time, weekend, I decided to. This weekend, as of my recordings, I tried to. I negotiated with my dad, who's a very notorious cheapskate, to go and see a movie, and so I asked.
And then
let me finish the story. So it's better if I tell the story than if you interrupt me. That's me being passive aggressive.
It's not called subject to change for nothing.
I said, okay, let's go and see the movie this weekend. We haven't seen anything in a while. I don't think we've gone to see a movie at the regular theater since Logan. So it's been a while. So he said, okay, let's go and see something. So I said, he said, what's out? And I said, well, Guardians of the Galaxy, everybody's seeing that. I've heard it's really good. Let's go and see it. And it's like, no, not really. You know, I saw the first Guardians, and I don't really want to see another Marvel movie. I feel like I've seen them all before. And then I showed him the trailer, and he said, yeah, it looks exactly what I was imagining it to be. Nothing new, just more of the same. So I said, what else is out? Well, there's King Arthur, but,
yeah.
you know, nobody's really, like, I mean, it's like a weird fantasy movie, but nobody likes it. And he said, okay, let's see that. So I may or may not go and see King Arthur tomorrow instead of Guardians of the Galaxy. And I want to have a little bit debate on the logic, because my dad's logic is that, look, it's a Marvel movie. It's a superhero movie. We've seen them already. We know what it's going to be like. You know what you're going to see before you coming into the theater. So why don't we go and see something different that is probably not as good?
But didn't he also say the words, hey, King Arthur will probably suck?
No, he didn't. Like, he doesn't say that.
I'm paraphrasing, of course.
But he kind of said, like, yeah, it might be worse. But then again, it's also something new and something different. And we already know what we're going to see with Guardians of the Galaxy. So why not go to a movie that's a little bit of a surprise or a little bit of something unexpected? So what do you think about that?
But, you know, I understand the logic behind it, but this is where I have this kind of conflict that's always running inside of my brain about Marvel movies. It's like, I'm getting super tired of them, but I also really still like them on occasion. Like, Doctor Strange kind of fell flat for me, but, like, Ant-Man was great. But then, like, Civil War was just like, yeah, it's all right. I like 20 minutes of it.
Let's see.
If you know what I'm talking about.
So let's run through
Guardians 2, which I have seen.
So let's run through like the latest Marvel movies. So Avengers. So let's see. Iron Man 2, I didn't like. Thor, I wasn't that hot on.
Nobody did.
No, Iron Man.
Except me.
No, Iron Man 3. I didn't like Iron Man 3. I didn't like Thor 2. I really liked Captain America 2. I didn't like Avengers 2. I did like Ant-Man because it was a fun heist movie. I didn't like Captain America at all. I feel like it was the
Civil War?
Civil War, Captain America was a train wreck. I loved Winter Soldier, but Civil War was a train wreck.
Did you also like First Avenger?
Yeah, I love Avengers. Avengers 1 is my favorite Marvel movie ever.
No, First Avenger, like Captain America,
Captain America. I like all of the Captain America movies except for Civil War, which I think is garbage.
Think Captain America 1 is super underrated. Like,
Captain America 1 is underrated.
People give it credit for.
But it isn't as good as Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier, I don't think is overrated, but I feel like it's kind of stole its spotlight. Like, people talk about Winter Soldier more.
Like, and then, of course, Civil War stole the spotlight from Winter Soldier undeservedly.
Well, again, like I said, like, I only liked 20 minutes of Civil War. It's like the rest is just kind of like, I mean, as much as the trailers give away these days, you kind of get like a vague outline of the movie in your brain. I kept just going, all right, when's Spider-Man getting here? When's Spider-Man getting here? When's Spider-Man getting here? And then he shows up, and I'm like elated, excited, like I'm just completely beside myself. And then he leaves, and then I just kind of like sink back into my seat and go, all right, waiting for that post-credit scene. Like,
man, don't you love how Spider-Man was I still maintain that Spider-Man was just fan service in the Civil War.
He absolutely was.
He was totally fan service. There's no reason for him to be there.
No, I mean, yeah, he's seriously.
He was not relevant to the plot whatsoever.
The fact that he got the rights back from Sony, kind of.
There was no reason for him to be there, but they just shot him some scenes after the rest of the film had wrapped, and I feel like
they cast Spider-Man like right near the ending of shooting,
and then they just
had to add him in. Like,
they just had a stunt double do his scenes in the mask at the airport, and then they just had Tom Holland shoot a couple of scenes in his apartment, and then boom, done.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, was something else that I think is funny is that they were so like unprepared for him being there that they hadn't even had the superhero suit for him done yet. Mm-hmm. So like the one on set is completely different from the one that was actually in the movie. And
they just CG'd him.
They had to CGI over the entire Spider-Man suit that was on set. So if you look at set videos of Civil War, it's like a different it's a completely different.
And if
costume.
you ask me, he shouldn't have
In
been
fact,
there.
I think the one on the set looked better.
But more to the point.
yeah.
More to the point. I mean, King Arthur is probably almost definitely a worse movie. Like, even from the trailers, it looks like Charlie Hunnam's doing his best, but it just doesn't look like a good script.
Doing
and
his
of course,
best
Guy
to,
Ritchie. Guy Ritchie is a
yeah.
terrible director. I hate what he did to Sherlock. But it's like, at least he's not giving us what we've already seen. Like, I mean,
No, hold on.
you can talk about that. Like, wait.
Make...
So, I wanna ask your opinion. So, like, you saw Guardians of the Galaxy 2, right? At least from the trailers, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 to me looks exactly the same as the first movie, but with a little bit more colors and different villains.
I would say it's not exactly the same as the first movie. It's a continuation.
It's got different 80s music, okay? So it's a different movie.
Well, no. Okay, come on. Be fair. I feel like it was more about with this time there were so many characters, but they were all very well balanced. So this one had more of an emphasis on a villain. And I think the villain of Guardians 2 is probably the best, or at least one of the best, Marvel movie villains. Like Killgrave and Kingpin are fantastic. Even Cottonmouth. But then, like, the rest of the movie villains tend to fall kind of flat because they're spending so much time developing the heroes. But, like, the villain in Guardians 2 seemed to be likable. He was played by a cool actor. He had an interesting motive and a unique, like, history.
You mean as Elizabeth Debicki from the OJ TV show?
Yeah, it was... Yeah, that's who I'm talking about.
Elizabeth
So anyway...
Elizabeth, he was a good character.
Yeah, Elizabeth he's a real cool guy, that Elizabeth. But anyway, Guardians 2, it's just a lot of really solid character development all around.
Like that's the struggle that we're trying to get at.
Here's this cast of characters from the first movie, and it just kind of manages to...
Stop talking about the movie. We need to talk about the...
If you like the characters from Guardians 1, you'll like Guardians 2 because it's all about characters.
But
it's like, less about being a crazy over-the-top action movie, and it's more about, here's some neat characters, here's their backgrounds, here's what they're like.
So here's like the thing that's the complaint is that, like, every time the conflict is that, like, Marvel is like that boyfriend girlfriend that you just keep getting together with, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna break up with it now, and then immediately afterwards they do something to redeem themselves. But after they redeem themselves, they do something terrible. And
you're like, damn it! All right, tomorrow.
And then they do a couple of crappy things.
They keep pulling you back in.
They keep pulling you back in. It's like, and that's what Marvel is, and I'm kind of getting angry with them because I'm a little bit sick of them, and that'll lead into our next question, which was lead into our first fan question, which was, what do you think should happen to the Marvel Cinematic Universe after Infinity War? If you ask me, one word, nothing. It should end after Infinity War. If you ask me, I think Marvel had a good run. It was fun. It was great. It was innovative. It was unique. But it's time to end. Like, realistically, I think that it's only going to go downhill after Infinity War, and I think that for it to be a good story, it needs to have a good ending. And it's not gonna, unless you want it to go on forever like comic books do, and you know how angry comic book fans get at, like, the things that ruin it, and then they have to reboot it. It just needs to have an ending, like a good,
every
solid
2 years we have to
definitive ending.
Everything.
It just needs to have a good, solid, definitive ending.
And
that's what I think it needs.
I think the MCU is going to end eventually when the numbers start drying up. Not when it's a smart decision and when the movies are done. Like, let's say Infinity War is the best movie ever. They did it. Like, they managed it somehow. They had all this, like, 60 characters in there, and all of them had a great moment. The villain was well developed. It was just a blast of a movie. They're not going to just stop, because there's still money to be made. So what they're going to do is, they're going to make sequels for Spider-Man, which, I don't know, take that or leave
the
it.
sequel is set for 2019 right now. Spider-Man
you know,
Homecoming
whatever,
2.
I guess. If you like Homecoming, depending on, you know, how that turns out, then I guess that's good news for you, you know. But then, what about the rest of the characters? Because, like, Robert Downey Jr.'s contract ends, or, you know, in fact, he's already in more movies than he signed up for, you know. So I'm sure he's gonna get tired of it and bail out, and then, you know, Chris Evans keeps switching his stance. He either says, I want to go be a director after I'm done with Captain America, or he says, Marvel has got me for the rest of the way. If they need me, they just need to tell me. You know, so everyone's going to figure out their contract bullshit. Some people are going to get recast, some people aren't, and then they're going to start, like, scraping the bottom of the barrel for other characters to try and make, like, Guardian-style wacky movies out of. So, like, we'll get a Squirrel Girl movie. I'm going to bet money Squirrel Girl is going to get a movie
with Anna
in, like,
Kendrick.
2020. Oh, God. I feel like they'd cast better than that. But, like, hey,
So
by the
here's
way,
all the
actually, that
movies.
reminds me of a funny story.
So I looked it up, and so far there are only 2 movies on the release slate after Infinity War 2, which is Spider-Man Homecoming 2 and Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I'm not going to call it Volume 3 because that's stupid.
I imagine Black Panther is going to get sequels.
Black Panther is before Infinity War, so who knows?
No, I know, but he's going to get sequels after
Thor
it.
4.
I'm going to call that right now, because
Thor
I'm
4,
sure everyone's going to love it.
Thor 4, in the style of Taika Waititi's A Vampire Movie.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited for that just because it sounds so weird.
But I think, so what you're saying is that ideally it should end, but it won't, and it's just going to slowly go downhill.
Fizzle out very slowly after they've run out of all of the characters they could possibly milk money out of.
Like, for example, it's just too big and too ponderous at this point to continue for too much longer, because, like, think about the first Avengers movie. You can name the characters on your hands. Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Thor, and Black Widow. That's it. But that's a solid group. Oh, and also, if you want to count Hawkeye, him too. But, what's the team...
Hawkeye has come into his own over time.
What is the team lineup for Avengers Infinity War? Captain America, Iron Man, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, Hawkeye, Black Panther, who else? Ant-Man.
A lot more.
Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel.
The entire
Guardians of the Galaxy. It's going to be so...
They might have the Defenders, even. Like,
it's just so...
wishful thinking.
Like, horrifically ponderous and just so many characters that it's just not going to work out. There's no more focus in the only focus is Thanos at this point. And after they defeat Thanos, what's going to be the point of the cinematic universe? Because they're all building to the fight with Thanos.
I have to correct myself before the comic fans go nuts. Mm-hmm. I wasn't thinking of Robot Man. That's a DC character. Machine Man will get a movie.
Vision. I forgot Vision.
No, Vision won't get a movie. Machine Man will, though, because Machine Man makes jokes, and Machine Man... he has
nobody cares
black hair that's spiky, and he wisecracks, and he wears a black trench coat, and he's got robot eyes, and he'll be played by someone like really famous and handsome. Machine Man will be played by Tom Cruise, and it will do terribly. Hey, after calling that Homecoming trailer thing, I feel like I should just start, like, making all kinds of crazy predictions just to see how far off I am.
Xavier Stradamus?
Xavier Stradamus. I'm gonna just start predicting comic book things, and they'll happen! It's gonna be crazy, you guys!
Mm-hmm.
I'm the future seer.
Yeah, so let's move on to another. I think we're not going to talk about Marvel Legacy because you don't want to, and I think we're not going to talk about.
Okay, it's just this dumb relaunch where they're going to start having, as far as I can tell, they're going to bring back a whole bunch of dead Marvel characters to placate fans after they alienated everyone by replacing them with, whoever to fill the, the minority quota. So, Iron Man, the original one's going to come back, and, Spider-Man...
Is Wolverine going to come back?
Yes, Logan will probably come back to hang out with X-23 Logan, Wolverine lady. The original Hulk will come back to hang out with Totally Awesome Hulk. And, that's his descriptor, Totally Awesome Hulk.
So
that's who we got replacing the Incredible Hulk.
So we're going to just have a bunch of... So... It's just dumb comic book nonsense that nobody cares about. So let's move on.
You know what? I've just given up on Marvel at this point. I read 3 books. I read Venom because you can't really insert politics into a story about a guy who has a space parasite. I read Deadpool because you can't really insert politics into a story about a guy who murders people and wears a red and black suit. And I am going to read Spectacular Spider-Man by Chip Zdarsky because Chip isn't an idiot and thinks that Spider-Man needs to have, identity politics. It's going to be, here's stories. Like, oh my god, really? Well, it's been so long since Marvel just had stories instead of messages,
So I think this is
It's like every fucking Marvel book is some kind of stupid PSA about racism. Oh my god!
So I think this can count as Xavier's Dan Slott rant for the week. So thanks for that.
Fucking Dan Slott! Spider-Man's beating up a bunch of Yakuza guys and then goes, I feel kind of racist for beating up all these Asian criminals. Can we go find some criminals that are wearing masks so I can feel not racist? And it's like, it shouldn't matter. Criminals are criminals, man. Spider-Man should just beat up anybody who's a bad guy. I don't know why they put that in the story. And then Hydra's coming around, and then Red Skull's going, make America great again. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And then Captain America executes someone on live television and is going, everyone's gonna call me Captain New World now because this is the New World Order. Hydra's so great. And then everyone's like, oh my god, this is terrible. And Marvel's like, no, guys, we promise the storyline is gonna be over soon, okay? Don't worry. Which is a benchmark of success, if you ask me!
I'm going to put your screaming to good use. So I think our next question is going to...
I don't know if you could tell.
So I think we're just going to have a couple more questions and then we're going to end. The next one is Disney Spider-Man deal. Are you worried about that as it goes forward? It relates to Homecoming and going forward.
Disney inevitably, like... You know what? I'm gonna predict something else. Spider-Man Homecoming does really well, and then Disney's like, alright, no more fucking around. We're just gonna, throw a couple billions at Sony to buy all the Spider-Man rights, which will then thusly cancel the Venom movie for October 2018, which is a terrible idea, so I'm fine with that. And then Spider-Man will become a main fixture in the MCU until it eventually implodes because they ran out of storylines because they can't do certain things without, Galactus or Beyond or shit like that. Because Fox owns the rights. So, and Sony's gonna take the job. They're gonna be like, alright, you can have Spider-Man back.
No.
Because Sony is doing so bad lately.
Sony is doing so bad, but they see... They're not... here's the thing. Marvel is never going to get Sony a Spider-Man back. I know that's a bit of a thing, but I'm saying never. Because here's the thing: they own 3/4 of the rights. Care. They own the character. They don't. It's not like Fox where they just have to keep making movies unless they lose
where
the
they
rights.
Have an expiration date.
Sony has no expiration date. They own it. Period. So they realize how valuable Spider-Man is. They're not going to let him go. Not even if
I think
they're not going to let him go.
You know what? I'm gonna guess that Sony's gonna have even more they're gonna have more gutter balls of movies over the course of the next 2 years.
But here's the thing.
And that's gonna get them seriously panicking.
Here's the thing. You need franchises these days. studios need franchises.
Well, you know what?
To
They've been trying to milk Spider-Man for decades now, and it gets harder and harder for them to do it.
It's been
And
until Spider-Man.
That's the emergency exit button. That's their oh no, we're fucked. We have to salvage it. Is they're gonna throw Spider-Man away when things are at their absolute worst.
Here's the thing.
I don't know if
they're not
going to
do that,
but it's a possibility.
They need Spider-Man because they don't have a lot of franchises going forward. They had Ghostbusters until they ruined it, and and word on the street is that James Bond may or may not leave MGM, and MGM might take it to Warner Brothers or Fox. So they're gonna need a franchise, and they're gonna need Spider-Man. Because what else do they really have?
That's why they're trying to push for here's a Venom spin-off movie that's not connected to anything. It's just because they're so desperate for.
Because they have, let's see, their biggest franchises.
That gets a
they
sequel,
have Men in Black. They have 21 Jump Street.
Dead.
They have Ghostbusters. They have Spider-Man.
They tried combining Men in Black and 21 Jump Street as a way to revive both of them.
And then they have, of course, they have the Dark Tower movie, but that's kind of a wild card at this point.
Yeah, no, I have no idea how that's going to turn out. I mean, the trailer looked kind of cool.
It's the first weekend of August, so it's either going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy or a Suicide Squad or a Fantastic Four.
You know what? That's the three options now for our blockbuster movies.
Because it's the first weekend of August, which is a wild card weekend. It's where studios put their unproven movies that may or may not do well, that they have high hopes for, but they also have very high anxiety for.
And the extension of that is when they're really not sure about it, they'll release it in January or February.
No, that January is a movie graveyard. That's where you release a movie if you know it's going to do poorly no matter when, and you just want to just release it on theater.
Then sometimes Deadpool's
No. Deadpool is different because that's Valentine's Day weekend, which is a big thing. So they released it intentionally. That's true.
I mean, it was opening against look at the competition, you know.
It's like
50 Shades. Oh boy,
No. 50 Shades skipped that weekend. Ugh. Skipped that year. 50 Shades skipped that year because E.L. James wanted more power behind the scenes, but that's a different story.
Oh yeah, what came out up against Deadpool? There was some movie that it had to fight for box office.
Zoolander 2.
Oh yeah, we watched Zoolander 2. And it was dreadful.
And I hated it so much. I wasn't angry during the movie. I was just laughing out of confusion and mystified horror. I was like,
that's perfect. That's exactly what it was. It was it was Stockholm Syndrome laughing. I already paid for the ticket. I can't leave.
I have to laugh.
I have to justify my purchase by laughing at this shitty Ben Stiller comedy. Otherwise, that means I wasted money, and that's absolutely not gonna happen.
The Susan Boyle cameo, though, was great. Because remember her?
Remember when Benedict Cumberbatch was there? That was funny.
That was really funny. Benedict Cumberbatch was hilarious. And then there's
the Neil deGrasse Tyson cameo, which is the anti-comedy. It's just, hi, I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson. Here's a swear word, because usually I am looked upon as someone who wouldn't necessarily cuss or say anything vulgar.
Let's see.
But here I said something strange and vulgar.
And Justin Bieber died, which was nice.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like the novelty wore off of that really quick.
Let's see.
Because at that point, I didn't even care about Justin Bieber anymore. I didn't care if he was
here are the cameos.
An asshole or a good guy or
so many people you want to punch in the face, like Andy Dick, Willie Nelson.
Oh, Andy Dick. Andy Dick is me from an alternate timeline after I become a mad
Neil deGrasse Tyson, Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, Susan Boyle, A$AP Rocky, MC Hammer.
A$AP Rocky was in it.
MC Hammer was in it too.
Fuck, you're right. I forgot all of these.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
what an eclectic cast of people.
Those are all the cameos. Although Benedict Cumberbatch's all was hilarious.
Okay, yes, that worked because Benedict Cumberbatch being a weirdo is like that. It's just surefire success.
Mm-hmm. So let's move on to our final question, which I'm not. Which was the. You can do this one.
Oh yeah, that one. Should I tell it?
It's the Andy Dick question.
Oh yeah, the Andy Dick question. All right. Well, you see, David and I first met because we go to the same high school, and we have for the past 4 years. Now, at one point during a class called Teen Choices, which is basically like
don't have sex, the class.
Yeah, a combination of sex ed and home economics. So we learned how to make stir fry. In addition to the fact that if you have sex with someone, they will either give you an STD, they will get pregnant,
or you will die.
They'll leave you, and and you'll die. So don't ever have sex because you'll get an STD, they'll get pregnant, and they'll leave you, and you'll die. And that's the only way sex could ever go. There's no such thing as Anyway, that's beside the point. I hated that.
Yeah. I remember from that class, there was that kid. What was his name? Like Christian or something?
Yeah, Christian.
He was a friend of mine, and I think he was a friend of yours, but we didn't really know each other, so we sat at the same table, and I just thought, you're okay. And then I made a joke, then I referenced a Nostalgia Critic video with you once, and you're like, hey, you're ripping that off.
Yeah, you made a reference, and I got it. And you're like, oh my god, this has never happened before.
And then I waited another year to really hang out with you.
Yeah, well, I remember at one point, I think I was having a conversation about Guardians of the Galaxy 1 in the lunch line with someone else. And I think it was that same guy, Christian. And you were standing behind us, and then you just kind of hopped in, and then you just said, I don't know, I don't think it was that good. And I was like, motherfucker, I'm gonna kill you. And then we became friends.
Yeah, that's basically our relationship. I'm gonna kill you, now we're friends.
And yeah, so then I think we started talking, and then we just started getting into really, really long conversations about movies. And then you just started, like, it's weird. I don't remember a lot of the, like, specific details. It's just like, I woke up one day and we were friends, and like the lead up was just kind of a blur. But I seem to recall you started like messaging me on Steam because we just needed something to talk through, and you were like, hey, so what's your opinion on the first Avengers or something? And we started talking about that, and then we started, like, we moved over onto Facebook Messenger because I don't use Steam that much anymore. And then eventually I was like, hey, I'm making YouTube videos. And you're like, hey, that sounds neat. Maybe I should too. And then one day we recorded a podcast, and a guy from New York asked us, how did we meet? And then I started off the conversation by going, so should I tell it or should you?
And then we interrupted each other a lot, which is what we do all the time.
We interrupted each other a lot. And then the episode ended, and that's how it worked.
Yep.
That's a great spot to end on.
Well, yeah. Let's see.
We went way over the timetable this time. Do you think, David? I have to ask you
no, this is about average.
It's a serious question. Do you ever think we'll get a 45-minute episode?
We could, if you stay on track.
We could if I wasn't in the video.
No, like that? I'm good at staying focused, but you can't. So
that's why I named it Subject to Change.
So if you
it's a multi-layered joke, David.
So if you take
first, you're like, whoa. We couldn't figure out a
finally,
title,
for the first
so
time in your life, take your ADHD pills, we could do it.
But then we were like, whoa, we change subjects a lot. So it's like, oh, it's got layers, dude. It's so clever. Oh, my God.
So, yeah, that's my opinion. If you actually take your ADHD pills for the first time in your life, we could do this.
I don't have anything that's been diagnosed.
But you totally have it.
I almost definitely have some kind of disorder of some sort. I don't know what it is. No one will tell me. But I got something.
You have a lot of problems.
I'm like if Jim Carrey was set on fire in terms of personality.
Yep.
Like, he's Jim Carrey, but he's also on fire. So he's a little bit distraught about that, and he might be a little loud, and he's definitely not happy with the situation.
I think we'll have to end now.
Carrey.
So we'll see you next week. Hopefully, Xavier will pay a little bit more attention to the script and stay focused a little bit more. Because right now it's like... Let's just say it's like... My
mind is like a snow globe inside of a blender.
Shattered?
Yes!
Okay, perfect.
Exactly.
Let's see you later. Bye.